Alright, I am back with another Destiny 2 video. It has been an extremely long time since anything remotely relevant happened in Destiny. But we have a substantive TWAB this week where, yeah, it's actually worth covering. I'm not going to read every single thing in here, but we have a bunch of weapon sandbox ability changes. Some of them are PvP, which obviously I don't care a ton about, but there are a good number of PvE ones in here too. I'm also curious as to when these are actually arriving. Is this too zoomed out? I can't, yeah, I don't know why that was zoomed out. Okay, so this week in Destiny, they did a Mass Effect crossover. I don't really think these sets actually look that great in practice, but getting a bunch of free stuff is actually kind of nice, which I just logged in and claimed. They just reduced the requirements for the wish things this week, so now they're pretty easy, so I might actually do them. So that's why I was logging in. And we'll just skip right down to the sandbox updates. So this is from, I thought this was from Chris Proctor. I think it's somewhere in here. You might be doing the weapons one. Okay, so, hey folks, combat gameplay here with a quick update. This is a lightweight one for us as we are heads down on the final shape, but we have a few changes coming that we wanted to share. As a quick rundown, update 735 will bring the following: a reduction of uptime for Threaded Spectre, a few changes to thread links to make them easier to deal with in the Crucible, a fix for restoration timer extension issue at long last, with a few corresponding changes to relevant solar fragments, a small number of ability buffs that we're pulling forward from our balance pass in the final shape. Good, because that's 4 months away. Threaded Spectre, it is currently overperforming in high-level PvP activities, particularly trials. We believe there are 2 core issues that drive this overperformance, so let's talk about each separately. First, uptime on Threaded Spectre is significantly higher than we think is healthy, particularly with the fast cooldown of the Hunter Dodge combined with the 2 Threadling grenade charges granted by Widow Silk. For update 735, we're implementing a change that applies the same class ability regeneration penalty that Ensnaring Slam uses when the player creates a Threaded Spectre. We don't want this change to have significant negative impact on Threaded Spectre's performance in PvE, so we're reducing the duration of that regeneration penalty by 50% when in PvE, which will also apply to Ensnaring Slam, increasing its uptime in PvE. Oh, that's nice. In addition, we're increasing the Threaded Spectre's detonation damage versus PvE combatants by 25%. Also nice. With the goal that while you may be able to create fewer Shadow Clones overall, each one will be more impactful to compensate. Alright, well, I guess we'll see. Alright, and then this is just what they said. Threadlings. The other half of the Threaded Spectre's PvP potency comes from Threadlings themselves. Like the Axion Bolt projectiles in Update 401, we believe Threadlings are currently too difficult to clear off the battlefield. To address this, we're implementing a change to make them easier to shoot and reduce instances where it feels like your bullet went straight through a Threadling without it detonating. In addition to their potency as a distraction tool, Threadlings deal enough chip damage to players to significantly change the outcome of an engagement. So we're reducing damage versus players, both at base and with Thread of Evolution equipped. Finally, we've identified a bug where groups of Threadlings were not chain detonating as intended when one is destroyed, which is being fixed. I literally did not know they were supposed to do that. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. Threadlings. Okay, this is what they said. We realize these changes are not localized to Threadrunner and will also affect Broodweaver potency in Crucible. To compensate for this, we're pulling some other buffs forward that we originally planned to ship in the final shape to keep the power of their overall kit roughly the same place. With 735, we'll be increasing Arcane Needle's aim assist and tracking strength, making it significantly more consistent against close to mid-range or fast-moving targets. Alright, Arcane Needle, increased aim assist angle by 50%, increased aim assist fall-off distance from 30 to 45 meters, increased tracking angular velocity by 5%, how quickly it can bend toward its target. Increase the length of the projectile's tracking shape, the shape in front of the projectile that it uses to find targets. Boy, game development is complicated. Fixed an issue where uncharged melees while Arcane Needle was equipped resulted in the player appearing to freeze in a melee pose. So these all apply to PvE too, so I guess that will hit better there. Restoration and Radiant updates. 735 will also bring an update to the Restoration and Radiant keyword buffs, which currently have a number of buggy interactions with timer extensions, most notably Ember of Empyrean Fragment in combination with Ember of Mercy. We've rebuilt a significant portion of these keywords to store your timer data more safely. Restoration and Radiant. Fix an issue where the maximum duration of Restoration and Radiant buffs were being incorrectly stored, resulting in their buff timers resetting to their initial duration instead of their maximum buff when reapplied. This also resolves similar issues with shorter restoration sources like Sunspots and Sol Invictus. That was probably repetitive. Alongside these changes, we'll be adjusting both the Ember of Empyrean and Ember of Mercy fragments. Left unchanged with the dramatically increased consistency from this bug fix, these two fragments would vastly exceed our power bar. We believe that even with these changes, the experience of using these fragments should be equivalent or better than the experience in the game right now. So Ember of Mercy, now extend your current restoration duration by 2 seconds when a fire sprite is collected. If you don't already have restoration, it now grants restoration with a 2-second duration. This restoration extension is increased to 3 seconds when Ember of Solace is equipped. Ember of Empyrean increased the maximum duration from 12 to 15. Reworked the duration extension system with each solar defeat. Previously, it always granted a 4-second duration extension, regardless of type of target. Now it depends on the target. An elite or weaker will result in less time added than current, but champions or stronger result in greater extension. Okay. I mean, at least they're fixing the bug part, but we'll see how that feels in practice. All right, Solar. Solar's getting more buffs in the Season of Solar here. Sure, why not? Let's stick with Solar. In combination with the Arcane Needle improvements, we have a small number of Solar ability buffs that were originally slated for our balance update in the final shape. We now feel confident enough to move those buffs to this release in conjunction with the Solar Aligned Seasonal Artifact. Oh, because they're doing it because this is like Solar Season on purpose. Okay. For Sunbreakers, we're improving the consistency of Consecration, making it better able to catch floating targets or enemies that jump too late. We're also increasing the travel distance, both of the Scorch Wave and Ignition Wave, further increasing the Ignition Wave's travel speed, both with and without the Pyrogale Gauntlet's exotic armor equipped. Alright, Consecration, increase the travel distance of the initial ground follow from 18 to 20, increase the height of the slam ground follow by 1 meter, increase the travel distance of the slam ground follow from 16 to 20, increase the travel speed of the slam ground follow from Pyrogale from 16 to 24. Seems pretty big. We've also heard some consistent feedback about Gunpowder Gamble's self-damage resulting in untimely misadventures, so we're reducing it to make it slightly less risky. Reduce max self-damage from 144 to 80. It's a Destiny the meme. It's always blowing themselves up with that. So there you go. This goes live on March 5th, so 3 weeks-ish. 2.5 weeks. So yeah, that's happening. That's essentially midway through the season. So mid-season update, except, longer than usual. All right, this is Chris Proctor. So weapon changes. What's planned for 7.3.5? Each release, we make changes to weapon archetypes, exotic weapons, perks, and more, intended to improve the balance of the game and introduce some more variety. In this release, we have some small adjustments to PvP tuning for weapons. The bulk of PvP changes are PvP specific in the Crucible sandbox section. Hefty PvE changes to rocket launchers, drum grenade launchers, and caster swords, and a set of weapon perk changes, mostly buffs. Weapon archetypes. When we created the new heavy burst hand cannon for Warden's Law, we inadvertently included some content that made them harder to control while playing with the mouse and keyboard. Corrected an issue that was causing heavy burst hand cannons to have 25% less aim assist than other hand cannons. I thought that those didn't feel great. Oh, it's when hip firing or airborne. Still, yeah, I don't know. I never really liked using Warden's Law because it just didn't feel amazing. Bows continue to be hard for some players to counter in PvP. They've always been strong, but we recently made them easier to use by making their fully drawn projectiles hit scan at longer distances, which makes them much more reliable at range. We're keeping that, but we are adjusting some aim assist data to require more skill to use them at extended range. Reduce auto aim fall off start and end by 15%. So aim assist will be less effective at long range. Reduce the maximum auto aim cone size by 5%. We ship Breakneck with one fewer perk than intended in the right column. It was missing target lock. All right. I had like 3 Gambit resets at the beginning of the season because I was looking for, what was I looking for? Subsistence Onslaught, I think. So I don't know. I don't really care about a target lock Breakneck. Lightweight Scout Rifles have always had a following, but they've suffered from being unforgiving when missing crits. We're making a change that reduces the proportion of crits required for optimal TTK from 4 crits to 3 crits and a body, and increase base damage by 5%. So that applies to everything, I think. Interesting. Despite being less popular than some other special weapons in PvP, snipers are disproportionately oppressive to play against, particularly in 3v3 game modes. the eternal song. Snipers are oppressive to play against. We're making them slightly harder to use by nerfing aim assist, reduce auto aim by 10%. The rocket launcher meta has become more set than we like, with adaptive and aggressive subfamilies outperforming the rest. We're making changes to the precision and high impact subfamilies that give them more reserve ammo than the others, as well as making other adjustments to give them unique strength. Precision, increase reserve ammo by 2 and reduce damage penalty from -10 to -5. High impact, increased reserve ammo by 2. Now deals more detonation damage and less impact for roughly the same total damage. More effective versus groups, or when getting splash damage on a target with a near miss. That also affects Deathbringer, Gallarhorn, and Truth. So they're not nerfing the other ones, they're just buffing these. So that's good. I like to see that. Heavy grenade launchers. They're strong mathematically, but no one is using them. It's time to make some substantial changes. We're pushing them into more sustained damage and ad clear. Nobody wants to use them for ad clear. Stop it. We're also tweaking spike grenades to make them less of a dominant pick. This change is not a nerf to overall grenade launcher damage output, as we've increased impact and detonation damage to compensate and dramatically increase reserve ammunition. Yes, I've been saying forever that heavy grenade launchers need way more reserve ammunition. Like, it's ridiculous how little it has. Let's see how they actually did it. Increase reserve ammo by a minimum of 6 rounds, maximum of 10 rounds. Okay, well, not a ton, but it's something, I guess. We'll see. Reduce spike grenades impact damage buff from 50 to 12%. It was 50%? Holy crap. For impact damage, at least. With the below changes, this reduces the total spike grenades damage buff from 8 to 3%, making them less mandatory. Alright, increase direct hit damage by 10%. Combined with the above change, this brings non-spikes almost up to the level of spikes, and very slightly reduces damage output with a spike grenade launcher. Increased detonation damage by 5%. In PvP, it's reset by a reduction to detonation damage. These don't sound like super big changes. I don't know. I guess it's a 10% buff in many areas. It just seems like they're nerfing Spike and like trying to bring things up to Spike. This doesn't sound to me like this is going to move the needle, as they say, but what do I know? We'll ask Salty Greppo, I guess. Waveframe heavy grenade launchers have struggled to find an identity, with not enough ammo to work for ad clear, and not as much single target damage as standard grenade launchers. With these changes, they will be able to compete with other grenade launchers, and it will be easier to land damage. Heavy wave frames increase damage by 20%, increase wave width by 40%. Oh, that's kind of fun. That's a big wave width increase. Holy crap. I kind of want to see that in action, I'm not going to lie. Not that it's probably worth a heavy slot still anyway, but... Caster swords are the only swords that have a range attack, for now. Ooh. And the trade-off for maintaining distance was damage. This reduction was more extreme than it needed to be, so we've brought the heavy attack damage up to approach other swords, while also reducing the heavy attack energy cost to grant higher uptime on the projectile. So now it goes down from 5 to 4 ammo, and heavy's up by 16%. Sure. Alright. Exotics. Vigilance Wing is strong in PvP, but it's hard to control with how much that 5-round burst kicks, so we made that easier to compensate for. It now has a deterministic recoil pattern. Vex Mythoclast fires like a high-impact auto rifle. Other high-impact auto rifles have a larger ADS damage fall-off scaler, so we've increased Mythos to match. Now it is 1.5 to 1.7. Wishander's True Sight is a big part of its exotic identity, so we wanted to retain that, but in its current form, it's far too useful in PvP, particularly with Oathkeeper. Wishender True Sight will not deactivate if you leave ADS or hold it for longer than 3 seconds. To reactivate, you must fully redraw the bow. Sure, PvP people will like that. Edge of Action's bubble isn't intended to compete directly with Word of Dawn, and with the glaive changes from Season of the Wish, we hit its health too hard. There's room to make it a lot more durable in PvE. So now it has more damage resistance in PvE to all combatants except bosses to 85%, and increased its damage resistance against bosses to 15%. I don't know what it was before, but okay. Manticore. I love Manticore. Everybody hates Manticore, but I really liked it on my Gyrofalcon Hunter. Alright, unique airborne playstyle, but it has several usability issues we aim to address, including the need for a reliable way to drop out of the air and prevent accidentally activating anti-grav, survivability in PvE, and synergy with builds that utilize void overshields. All of those things are true, yes. Players now must be airborne for 0.5 seconds and deal damage with the weapon to activate the perk. This prevents accidental activation while running downstairs. We gave it a special reload to quickly disengage anti-grav. Swapping weapons will continue to disengage, yeah. Terabot also receives the special reload animation. Is special reload like just reloading it, or do you have to like hold R or something? Or if you reload it, you just drop? I don't understand. Okay. Well, anti-grav thrusters are engaged. Combatants will be less accurate when targeting the player, similar to the always-on-time Sparrow. It's always on time, the gun. Amazing. I love it. I'm going to use this again. Okay. It's not really a void season. With Catalyst, final blows and sustained damage with Manticore, while airborne grants a void overshield and return ammo to the magazine. Hell yeah. Manticore buffs, baby. I'm excited. Players enjoyed Exterius grenade launcher for delivering in the Boomer Knight Fantasy, but it wasn't hitting hard enough to be a top-tier pick. This was easy to address by bumping the damage and rate of fire. Increased impact damage against PvE enemies by 50%. Detonation damage is unaffected, so total damage is around 20%, and maximum rate of fire is 17%. Yeah, I just finished using this to get the catalysts. It's kind of an interesting weapon because it can get you, what's the frickin' speed thing? Overcharge? I don't remember what it's called. The thing that makes you really fast in Arc. You can get that on any class. That's kind of cool. Heal Clip wasn't good, so we fixed that. Now grants Cure X2 to the player while granting Cure X1 to nearby allies. Nice! So my Heal Clip, Incandescent, whatever that pulse rifle's called from this season is going to be good. Awesome. Trench Barrel was designed in a world where there were few ranged melee attacks and wasn't desirable to make them even more valuable by allowing them to activate certain perks. That's no longer the case, so we're opening these up. So Trench Barrel can now be activated with ranged melee attacks. Barrel Constrictor was experimental, so we shipped it in a constrained state. We're now removing some of those limits. Once activated, it no longer deactivates upon firing a shot. It lasts for 7.5 seconds, and it buffs all shots fired during that time. Enhanced Barrel Constrictor lasts for 8.5 seconds. Loose Change is strong in a PvE subclass build, but isn't interesting in PvP. I don't know. I don't really like it in PvE, but maybe it's some meta I'm missing. Adding buffs. Applying a subclass debuff now grants 20 aim assist and 20% reduced ADS speed in addition to the reload stats. Applying another debuff now refreshes the duration too. Alright, well, that's something. Dual Loader takes up a trait slot, which is a sufficient enough cost that it doesn't need a penalty. The wording is also locked into shotguns, where there are other continuous reload weapons in the game that already load more than one round at a time. There's no reload speed penalty. That's good. I like that. That's pretty cool. Change the wording so it increases the number of shots reloaded so we can now apply it to other weapon types without confusion in the future. Interesting. Shipping a couple of Tex Mechanica legendary weapons in 735. Wait, what? What is this? Oh, is it new Trials weapons and stuff? Okay, whatever. So, Tex Mechanica things now grants 20 range and 1.5 degree hipfire precision cone angle in addition to its other effects. The Hake, Deconstruct, and Sundering felt like they should work against more targets that look like constructs or vehicles. Okay. So now that also includes Void Soul, Strand Clones, Cabal, Projection Shields, and Briggs. Like all of Briggs? That's pretty funny. I like it. Okay. They have one specific edge case that increases the complexity of the perk and is no longer needed, so we're reducing the number of different damage bonuses this perk has. Damage bonus versus stasis crystals reduced from 85 to 60% to match other constructs. Sure. As an origin trait, Sundering has a fairly high uptime in Warlord's Ruin because of the number of eye turrets. However, a perk themed around breaking stuff feels like it could apply more broadly, and a shield break is an obvious activator. It can now trigger on a shield break in addition to final blows on vehicles and constructs. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We added a small reload speed scaler while reducing the charge rate benefit to account for higher uptime. Hatchling is a fun perk, but weapons that can technically crit but are bad at it suffer from precision kills being the only activator on certain weapon types. Hatchling activation requirements are no longer locked to the archetype in terms of precision or non-precision kills. Instead, the perk will trigger with either a precision kill or 3 non-precision kills. That's nice. Interesting. Target lock is a large part of the reasons SMG popularity has remained high despite changes to the archetype. With this change, it's a solid perk, but much less oppressive in PvP. now activates later in the magazine at 20% instead of 12.5%, so the damage buff will swing primary weapon gunfights less often. Envious Assassin's loop works well, but with other weapon types, the payoff is far too great for the amount of effort involved. For example, even with the large above buffs to drum grenade launcher reserves, it was still possible to shove all of your reserves into your magazine. With this change, it's very strong, but its potential has limits. Each activation is now capped at 100% of the magazine size instead of 150, and the maximum overflow is now 3 times the magazine size instead of 4 times. Yeah, okay, I mean, I can see it. That thing was kind of insane at a certain point. Bait and switch is too strong. Oh no! There goes. I'm surprised this didn't happen sooner. Alright, now it's 30% bonus instead of 35. Plan your DPS accordingly. Finish the perk section. We're making 2 additional fixes. 1-2 punch now correctly deactivates after dealing damage with a powered melee. Deconstruct updated the perk description to correctly state that it pulls ammo from thin air, not reserves. Fixed a bug preventing the bug from triggering while shooting an enemy Titan barricade. Alright. Mods. Bonus damage against mini-bosses should have been part of boss spec, not major spec. We've updated these mods to correct that. Oh. I still never know. Are champions major spec? I feel like champions are major spec. Isn't the idea that like anything you can finish is major spec and anything you can't finish is boss spec? Okay. Well, I don't know. The future. We've put a lot of balance changes from the final shape in Destiny 2 into the light into update 735, but we'll have a number of small but exciting changes shipping and into the light, touching content many players haven't thought about in several years. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. Can't tell. Is it like Blind Well, where we just made all the enemies harder and farming it is still terrible? Or is it something more interesting? We will see. The garbage trucks are outside my house, if you can hear that. In the final shape, we're rebalancing many weapon types in PvE, buffing underperforming weapons, and leaving most high performers untouched. Since we're looking at PvE weapon tuning anyway, over the course of the year of the final shape, we'll be looking at weapon mods that feel mandatory, and we intend to make some changes that will increase player choice, particularly in PvE. We're also making substantial changes to several of the least used exotic weapons. We'll see a lot of requests for these, see if you can guess which exotics we touched, and adjusting some perks, including a long requested change to kill clip, making it viable to use on slower firing weapons. You can also look forward to being able to enhance many more weapons. We'll be back with more information on weapon enhancements soon. Oh boy, the fun with crafting continues. Okay. I gotta get ready for this Xbox thing, so I don't know if I have it in me to read an entire Crucible sandbox section, which is not my thing at all. So I think I'm gonna skip this. My bad if you were really looking forward to this, but this is all about engagements. Oh boy. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have time to read this. This is very long. Okay. Happy Lunar New Year. This is the free emblem you can claim with this code. Here are your Chinese New Year themed ornaments you can get. X Trials map is Dead Cliffs, and Destiny is on sale for the most ridiculous sale I've ever seen, where you can get literally everything except the stuff they vaulted and the seasons and the dungeon pass. It's still a lot of stuff. It's all the expansions, the stupid Forsaken pack, and the 30th anniversary pack for $40. That's kind of an insane deal, and like everyone's like, oh, I still can't recommend it. I can recommend it. Screw that. That's worth $40. Give me a break. And 5% of the proceeds go to the Bundy Foundation. So, be charitable. Okay, so some cool comics. It's actually very good art. Okay, more details to share in the following weeks. Let's focus on the present. How are you doing in moments of triumph? Did not even know that was going on. All right, and don't forget, weekly ribbons wishes are still available. Okay, so sorry about skipping the Crucible section, but I think the parts there was some Crucible stuff in the weapons part, in the ability stuff, so, you all can read their giant Crucible philosophy separately or with a more forgiving TWAB video read from S-Cross or whoever's going to read it. But, I'm going to process this. I'm jumping back in to see if these wishes are any good, but I am excited to see at least a substantive TWAB after so much time of just nothing to report about the game. We are still a long time away from any real substantive content. I think the next big thing is Guardian Games, and then Into the Light will be, it's April, May, right? So we got a month and a half until that. Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.